Hi and welcome to Career Magic. My name is Nitin Kulkarni, and in this series, I talk about little things that we can do that can turbocharge our career, little things that can make a big difference to our influence, our impact, and our growth. So, today I'm going to talk about stakeholder management. Some time ago, I had done a video on navigating office politics. So, now, office politics can be a dirty word. And in that video, what I had spoken about was what are some things you can do to make office politics irrelevant to your growth and impact. Make office politics irrelevant in the sense that the negative connotations associated with office politics you can neutralize by doing certain things. So do watch that video of mine if you are interested in that topic. Today I'm going to talk about one thing I mentioned there, that one of the strategies that you can adopt to navigate office politics successfully is to create a very good network of relationships around your organization. And one of the important aspects of this network of relationships is making sure that you have good proactive relationships with important stakeholders. Many years ago, I used to work in this company by the name of Canbay. We were a very successful software services company catering to the needs of financial services clients. And eventually we got acquired by Capgemini. But before that happened, we had a very dynamic person who used to run our India operation. And this gentleman used to start these new initiatives which he felt could add a lot of value to the enterprise. And he had started one of these initiatives and so this initiative was called the Business Architect Initiative. And he had hired a number of young, very smart individuals from a consulting background who could actually set this up. And they could be the first consultants in that service. So one of the guys who had been hired, his name was Amit, and so I knew him a little bit. And once when I was passing by his cubicle, I just peeped in and saw that he had a printout of a meeting invite, pinned up on the soft board inside his cubicle. So I stopped and I said, "Hi Amit, what's going on? How are you? And what's this?" And he said, "Well, that's a very important meeting I have once a week with this gentleman who heads our India operation." I said, "Why do you have this weekly meeting? He's like 3 or 4 levels up. And what do you do?" And he said, "No, this is very important because I know this is a new initiative. And it's really important for me to understand if what we are doing is on the right track, and also for him to understand what we are doing so that we are synced up and we are moving in the right direction, because it's very easy for a new initiative to fall through the cracks and not be successful. So I just want to say to make sure." So I said, "He's such a busy guy. So how did you manage to get on his calendar?" And he said, "All you have to do is ask." I asked, and this is important to him. So he's given me half an hour every week and we talk. Big light bulb moment for me, because what Amit was doing was proactive stakeholder management. He was having this proactive stakeholder conversation once a week. And we can all do this. One of the biggest problems we have, so people who look at these sorts of proactive stakeholder management as sucking up, make a mistake. People who are very successful in the corporate world have the ability to establish these connections and relationships with important stakeholders, and they help them tremendously in their growth, in assuming higher responsibilities, etc. How do we go about doing this? The problem is that most of us have these sorts of stakeholder relationships. They are very transactional for us, so we are not proactive about them. So what happens is, when we have some business to conduct with these stakeholders, we talk to them, we may try and establish a connection, but it doesn't really go beyond those transactional interactions. So I'll talk about a framework that you can use to do this And if you do this, believe me, if you spend a little bit of time doing this and follow this iPad framework that I'm going to talk about, you will really make a huge difference to your career. So what is this iPad framework? iPad is very straightforward. Identify stakeholders, prioritize them, assess the state of your relationship with them, and then D is decide the actions you need to take in order to strengthen the relationships. Let's just go around this iPad framework and see what we need to do. Identify. What you ought to do is every time you assume a new role, or once a year in your existing role, you should just make a list of your important stakeholders. And if you already have that, review it once a year and see if any stakeholders have changed. Are there new ones that have come into the picture, etc.? So make a list of stakeholders. Identify. Think broadly. Think about the people who are impacted by your work. Think about the people who can impact your work, both big and small, senior and junior. Make a comprehensive list. If you're doing something important, you are in, mid-management, senior management, and if this list is less than 10, you have not thought broadly enough. Now, when you are creating this list, make sure that you put names in this list. Do not put departments. Do not put like the head of HR. Well, it's very hard to assess your relationship, to make sense of it if you're just talking about a block or a block in the organizational structure without a name. Make sure you write names so that we can talk about relationships with real people. So identify is the first step. Do this periodically to make sure you're refreshing this list. The second piece of it is prioritization. Why prioritize? Because none of us has infinite amount of time in our day. We must prioritize to ensure that we are spending time on building relationships in a manner that gives us the biggest bang for the buck. Now, to prioritize, there's a very straightforward mechanism. It's called the power desire matrix. So think of a 2x2 matrix, where there is high power and low power on one axis and high desire and low desire on the other axis. High power means these are stakeholders who can have a great impact, a transformational impact on your career and on your results. Low power means the influence is not that great. High desire means these people are your supporters. So the best case scenario is that, they'll do anything to help you succeed. And low desire means they don't really have a desire for your success. So they might even hurt your results, your growth, your success, because there is something has gone wrong with this relationship in the past. They may hate your boss, they may hate your function, there may be a problem. So low desire, high power, low power. So this 2x2 gives you 4 boxes to deal with. Let's look at the first box. The first box, high desire and high power, I call them your champions. These are people who have your best interest at heart and who have the power and the influence to help you. So these are people who may have brought you into this organization. These would typically be senior people who you have a good relationship with. It's really important to make sure that you do not take these relationships for granted. What they need from you is to keep them informed. The second box is the high power and low desire box. Now, this is a very dangerous box. We can call these people rhinos. Heard of the rhino in a China shop? They can be very damaging. So these are people who are powerful, but they don't have the best interest, your best interest at heart. And they think that you really do not understand their world. I'll talk about what we need to do with them. The third box is people with low desire and low power. So these are people who can sometimes be a nuisance, can't hurt you very much. I call them wasps because they can be irritating. We do need to keep an eye on them. Why? Because if they get into a role that has high power or high influence over your results, they can become rhinos. So we do need to keep an eye on them. The last box is the low power and high desire for your success people. I call them cheerleaders. These are people like your family, like your friends, who may not be able to have to exert great influence on your career, but who have your best interest at heart. It feels really great to be around these people. So 4 boxes. Now, how do you prioritize? Where should you spend most of your time? Well, the most of your time should be spent with the high power people, the rhinos and the champions. That is where a lot of your time should be spent in either turning the relationship around or strengthening it, because that is where you get the biggest bang for the buck. With the wasps and the cheerleaders, you need to spend a little bit of time, but you have to prioritize them a little bit lower, but do keep an eye on them. Now, what really happens in this scenario is that our natural tendency is to spend most of our time with the cheerleaders. These are people we are very comfortable with. It feels good to be around them, but unfortunately, if we spend all our time there, we take our eye off the ball in terms of managing our relationships with the influential stakeholders. Now, what do these people? So, spend quality time on these stakeholders who are powerful. What do these people need from us? Actually, you don't need to spend a lot of time with champions. Talk to them once in a while, meet them once in a while, drop them a note once in a while. All they want to know is how you are doing. Are you making good progress? Keep them informed, and they are very happy. If you ignore them completely, they will drift away and may no longer remain as big a supporter of yours as you would like. So keep them on your side. Keep them informed. The rhinos want you to understand their world. They have low desire because they think you don't understand their world. They don't want to waste their time with you. So invest time in understanding their world, invest time in understanding their business, invest time in connecting them with your team and making sure they understand you better. Okay. So this is how you prioritize. Once you have prioritized, assess the state of your relationship in order to figure out what are the measures you need to take with them. Now, assess means figure out what is it that is lacking in this relationship. Why are the rhinos? Do they have a problem with trust? Do you not have a connection with them? Connection means a rapport with them. What is going on? Figure out what you need to do in order to invest time proactively to work with them, and then decide what you need to do. Now, the D part is putting things in I'm a big advocate of doing weekly planning of your schedule in order to make sure that the focus on important things doesn't go away. So when you are doing weekly planning, make sure there is an item called stakeholder management that appears there, and block time to spend time on some of these important relationships. Call the stakeholders, set up meetings with them, go for a coffee with them. And I'll tell you one thing, like Amit said, it doesn't hurt to ask. They will give you time. If you are persistent, and if they believe that they can get some value from you in terms of better delivery, in terms of commitment, in terms of trust, in terms of more responsiveness, they will give you time because it's in their interest. So do all of these things. Work on the rhinos to move them towards the champions area. Keep an eye on the wasps and cheerleaders, and keep the champions informed. Invest time proactively in doing all of these things, and you'll see the difference. You will see a big turnaround in how people view you, how people advocate for you, how people support you, and automatically even your team starts to look at you differently, because you have this network that you can leverage for the benefit of the team, create visibility for it, and get things done. Try iPad, see what happens. Do subscribe to my channel so you get notified about new videos like this that I post, and do leave comments, and see you again next time.